My daddy uses Voltaren to help relieve his knee pain. It really helps him.
So, a few years ago, I was training to do a half marathon. I was going to fly up to Dallas and do the Irving Frost half marathon. It's something I'd done several years ago when I lived out there, so it was just going to be a go back and reminisce the old days. So I was training on Thanksgiving Day. I went out to do my long run for the week. It was going to be 7 miles. And even when I started walking, I felt a pain in my knee. And, you know, I've had knee pains before running. But when I started running, you know, that pain would come and go. And about mile 5, I had to walk home. I couldn't finish. And but there was not an event. Nothing happened except for I just got the pain. And so it wouldn't heal, and I went down there. I'm going to try to make this story fast, Reader's Digest version. So I went down, finally went to the doctor. They checked, x-rayed it. And the x-rays show, you know, a guy my age, you know, obviously having the osteoarthritis. And, but it doesn't show the muscles and other stuff in there. So I finally talked him into letting me go down for an MRI, and the MRI showed that I had a pretty bad meniscus tear. And so when I went back and, you know, shortly afterwards, I was talking with the doctor about different things, and I said to him, this doctor, I believe his name is Friedel, really liked the guy. And by the way, he didn't recommend this stuff. I'm just throwing his name because he's a nice guy, a good orthopedic surgeon. And I never got surgery, but anyhow, I was talking to him about one time. I said, did you ever heard of something called Tiger Balm, which has worked for me before, you know, for different strains, muscle strains? He said, yeah, but I know of something that works. And he then called the name, and so I didn't pay much attention. A week or so later, I sent him a text. I said, what was the name of that stuff you said works? And he said, Voltaren. So I went and bought some, and tried it, you know, Voltaren. Don't use Voltaren if you're allergic to Voltaren. But, so I bought some, and it's supposed to be to, reduce inflammation.
Seems everything is caused by inflammation nowadays.
But, so it comes to instructions, but also I want to show you this. It comes with this card I have never used. This is a dosage card. And supposedly, you know, what you would do for the upper, you know, something like a wrist, this orange band, that's how much you would squeeze out. That's your dose. For something like a knee, this bigger amount. And I guess they want you to squeeze it out on this thing and then measure it. And I've never done that. I just kind of guess at it. But it says you can use it 4 times a day. I was using meloxicam. You know, they prescribed those pills to me. Meloxicam. And, you know, I didn't really think it worked that great. And right now I'm going to tell you this did not work that great at first when it was the meniscus pain that was giving me all that pain. Later on, and I'm not going to try to tell the story. Again, I didn't have surgery, but I think it wound up the meniscus pain, something happened to it, and then, but I still had to deal with the osteoarthritis pain. So you can put this on 4 times a day, and I'm going to kind of show you about how much that, you know, I squeeze out. I mean, I'm putting plenty on this knee. And, I mean, it can't be too far off what that dose would be, but I've never used that dosage card. So then you rub it into the knee. And, instead of something like meloxicam where it has to go through your entire bloodstream, through the gut and through everything, and it, you know, that stuff, it never gave me a problem, but it says it can't give stomach problems. And then it talks about all the other problems, like every other anti-inflammatory or anything you take orally, you know, can has to go through all these body parts before it gets into your bloodstream. Well, this stuff goes through quicker because it just kind of, I guess, absorbs through the skin. But once it was really just the osteoarthritis helping me, I'd started trying to get back to running. By the way, this stuff says wash your hands before and after use. After makes a lot of sense because it's kind of sticky, greasy. Sticky or greasy, one or the other, or both. Just wash your hands before and after. I guess before, whatever is on your hands is going to absorb through the bloodstream too. So anyhow, once I started, I got back to running, and there was some pain at first when I'd start jogging. I'd jog just a little bit, and there'd be some pain, and I would walk. And then I'd try jogging again, and I guess that loosened it up, and there wasn't pain.
He may be old,
so bad,
but he can still run.
But anyhow, I finally gotten, and even when I run now, whether I'm doing it on the treadmill or out there on the street, the first thing I do is I'll get out and do a 2.5 real slow warm-up jog, and I'll feel a little bit of pain then. And then I'll start my run, a couple of minutes later. And really, most of that pain has gone away, and I think the Voltaren is helping. Okay, I can't swear. I guess the biggest way to tell is if I were to quit taking it and see if the pain comes back. But it's nothing I promise, but I believe that the Voltaren is helping with it. Not to mention the fact that, I've gone through some efforts to try to lose a little weight. We're talking about osteoarthritis. And weight and lose a little weight. I know just, in fact, I'm kind of a yo-yo dieter kind of thing. Last June, I was 244, and then, 6 months later, I'd gotten down to where I was 214. And then, I kind of let it go back to, and then just a few weeks ago, I weighed in at 229. This morning I'm weighing in at 215. And that's just after a few weeks of being on the ketogenic diet. We'll talk about that too in a different video, but I'm going to talk about that. I think the keto is the best diet. It's worked for me. I'm just like everybody else, or most people. Once you get off the diet, you put the weight. It's a lot more fun putting the weight on and eating donuts than it is taking it off. But anyhow, I believe the Voltaren is working. This is not a recommendation. I'm not a doctor. This is just an observation because there are certain things, read the label, certain, things that, like cause stomach upset. And I don't know what kind of problems. So make sure to read it. Like it always says, talk to your doctor. So this is not an official recommendation. This is just an observation of mine. So, once again, Voltaren seems to be some pretty good stuff, and if you're like me on United Healthcare, Medicare, then their U card will pay for this. So, and by the way, it also talks about you can only use it for X amount of period of time, then you have to stop. So, how long do you have to stop? I don't know. It says that you use it 4 times a day. I started 3 times a day. It's difficult to put on while I'm at work. So really, I'm just putting it on 2 times a day. That seems to help. I can get out there and run 3 miles now. Once it cools off, I'm going to try to build up at 5 miles. Again, I think the Voltaren is helping. I'm Danny Drummond. Y'all have a good day. And I'll let you know later on how it's working.
Everything is caused by inflammation nowadays. It's ridiculous! Blame it all on inflammation!
Use Voltaren if you're allergic to Voltaren.
Daddy uses Voltaren to help relieve his knee pain. It really helps him.
preceding video is not intended to be medical advice, just one man's opinion.
Don't use Voltaren if you're allergic to Voltaren.
Seems everything is caused by inflammation nowadays. It's ridiculous! Blame it all on inflammation!